I know that it's become, I already knew this, but it's becoming especially, center of some of my attention that, different people go to different churches for different reasons to get different things. That there very much is a consumer mentality that if you don't get what you need from a church, then you go somewhere else, or maybe you even stop going to a church. And I know that part of what we've seen in the work of the board in terms of demographic studies, that there are a fair number of people that what they are looking for is they are looking to go to church and be told how to be a better husband, a better wife, a better partner, a better parent, a better coworker, a better employer. Any number of roles that you may play in your life, how can you do that better and do it with more peace and do it with more grace and do it with more effectiveness? And I understand that. I understand the need for that kind of motivational speaker, but in my view, that is not preaching. In my view, that is not what we are about. That what we are about is that we are doing our best to learn the deep and ancient wisdom of our tradition, not only so we can be better individuals, but mostly so we can be a better community. That we are like the yeast that is put into a petri dish to grow a counterculture that ultimately becomes the salt of the earth and the light of the world. Now, there are a lot of different ways for us to think about who we are. For example, we could ask, are you a vitamin or an aspirin? Are you a vitamin or an aspirin? A vitamin is taken as a supplement to improve life, and an aspirin is taken in order to relieve pain. Both of which are very valuable. But which are you? Are you an umbrella or a raincoat? I'm not sure what that means. But let your imagination go with that. Are you a mop or a broom? That is, do you get into the messiness of things and absorb it? Or do you just sweep things away, put it in a dustpan, and discard it? Both are very, very valuable. And what if we apply these kinds of questions to who we are as a church? As a church, are we an aspirin or a vitamin? Are we a cruise ship or a mid-sized schooner? Depending upon the wind of the Holy Spirit to take us where it would blow. Are we a hospital or a MASH unit? A couple of weeks ago, I gave a summary of the board's work for the last 6 months, and on the one hand, we're taking very seriously that we passed a $56,000 deficit budget, and notice we don't hide it, and we want to address it immediately and in very practical ways, and we've done so. On the other hand, we are trying to understand what it means to be a thriving congregation for the future, given all our practical realities and given our core values. To help all of us to understand the complexity of the challenge, I shared with you a model of brand, infrastructure, and execution. Brand is the type of product manufactured by a particular company under a particular name. Shadow Rock's product is to build a healing and inclusive community of hope, peace, and justice. And as we struggle to figure that out, that is the work of the people to build these processes, is the heart of our spirituality. Because when we do that, we are yelling at each other, trying to figure what it is, and what is revealed is that we are known, and we do know most truthfully who we are, and we are known and most truthfully known by God. That's spirituality. To know and to be known by God and by one another. Infrastructure is the basic physical and congregational structures and facilities like the buildings, the roads, the power supplies, the money, the financial practices needed for the operation of this enterprise. And execution is the carrying out or putting into effect a plan, an order, or course of action. We talked about that. But I want to say that from time to time, we've gotten off track as a congregation. We have mistaken our infrastructure for our brand. Let me give you an example. For a while, people thought that being open and affirming, or being the gay church, was our brand, our product. Some people embraced this and some did not. And currently, some people would say that our brand and product is being a sanctuary church. Some embrace this and some do not. I would say this is wasted time and energy to have this discussion. That being open and affirming or a sanctuary church is not our brand or our product. Being open and affirming in a sanctuary church are the current infrastructure by which we deliver our product of being an inclusive and healing community working for justice. Being open and affirming in a sanctuary church are only two ways that we walk the talk of our values. The question is not, should being open and affirming and offering sanctuary be our products, our brand? The question is being open and affirming and offering sanctuary, are they legitimate perceptions and responses to God's newest thrust in history that are true to our core values of inclusion, justice, and spirituality? In addition to asking if being open and affirming and offering sanctuary being the right infrastructure for our brand of inclusion, justice, and spirituality, we must ask, are we putting all the right resources and internal political will into executing our mission? Or are we distracted? We do allow ourselves in the name of nicety to get distracted. We want to keep our goals lofty and our mission vague to allow everyone to be comfortable. When you think about the history of our denomination and our congregation, we suffered a loss of friends and family when we took a stand. Ordaining the first black clergy, we paid a price. Ordaining the first women clergy, we paid a price. Open and affirming of all LGBTQ and A persons, we paid a price. Speaking out against the Iraq war, we paid a price. Standing for marriage equality. Some people got queasy and wondered why we're politicizing marriage. The truth is others politicized it by telling the church what its mission is, and we responded by taking a stand, and we paid a price. Offering sanctuary so families can stay together and people can be safe from torture and murder, we paid a price. In every instance, sensitive and discerning people perceived and responded to God's newest thrust in history, and history has proved them right, and we have paid a price. I think we can make a good case that we are in alignment with the right side of history. However, alignment of our brand and infrastructure and execution is something that eludes us. The leaner we get as a congregation, the less able we are to absorb the organizational bumbling that occurs when we are so out of line. A large cruise ship can absorb the big waves easier than a medium-sized schooner. We end up having some intense discussions when we try to discern, are we a hospital for ourselves or a MASH unit for the world? It is very difficult to be both, and both are legitimate. Think about this over July Sabbath. Go visit other congregations and discern if they are aspirins or vitamins. Cruise ships are schooners. Hospitals are MASH units. Most importantly, discern if they are clear in themselves as to who they are, and if so, how did they get there? Last Sunday we were blessed by Reverend Jean Lefebvre, by his story and his lessons about courage. He told us that as Christianity is a shrinking religion in Western society, it will be those communities that have courage and take risk that will survive and thrive in the future. It is not the churches that are large and mirror the culture that will survive. It is the church that stands countercultural and dares to articulate to secular people life's greatest possibilities. Those are the churches that will thrive. Now, I'm biased. You called me to be pastor at this congregation, and you showed me my office. And when you showed me my office, you pointed out the weird floor plan of the office and how the windows come together at an angle at one place in the office. And that architecture was to remind me that as your pastor, you expect leadership to be cutting edge. I take you very seriously. My understanding of the ministry of Jesus and our own covenant is that we are more a vitamin than an aspirin, more of a PT boat than a cruise ship, and more a MASH unit than a hospital. However, I was reminded by a good friend and member of this congregation, and I keep that note front and center on my desk, that not everyone is a social pioneer. Their comment touched my pastoral heart. And I'm determined that as we move through history, we should never leave any of our wounded behind. But we have some decisions to make. And when we return from our Sabbath, our work will begin again. So enjoy the Sabbath. Be blessed. Rest. We have an incredible future ahead of us. Amen.